Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another installment of Flyer. We got a good one for you this week. We got a lot to talk about after our week off break with the Four Nations tournament. We're actually going to jump right into that. The Four Nations talk, just our experiences in general, and the Flyers players and how they did in it as well. Second half is about to ramp up. We already had a game played yesterday, which we'll go over as well. What to expect the rest of the way. And trade deadline. That's coming right up as well, 12 days away. Who stays? Who goes? And we're going to give our opinions on that. Sit back, relax, and get ready. Another episode of Flyer Gonna Flyer coming your way next. Hey, everybody. As I just said, good morning, afternoon, and evening. Flyer Gonna Flyer, episode 32 has begun. I am one of your gracious co-hosts, Alex Furnett. Find me on Twitter and Bluesky at the social media hashtag below. My first week back since my nasal surgery, because I missed last week's episode, which, by the way, my two awesome co-hosts, Jamey and Eric, absolutely killed it. I watched the whole episode. A+ job from both of you guys. Not shocked. Just had to give the flowers out to the boys. But as usual, let me introduce my two awesome co-hosts. Starting with the man to my left. You know him, you love him, the seasoned veteran, Jamey Bascow.
Aloha mahalo to everybody. Listen, we got a good one in store, and kudos to Eric for officiating, 2 weeks ago when Alex was out. I think Eric does a great job, and I think he deserves a shout-out.
Oh, thank you, Jamey.
And with that being said, my other awesome co-host, the man who took charge last week 2 weeks ago, technically, in my absence. Holy crap, I'm botching everything. You know him, you love him, Mr. Eric Martino.
What's up, boys? I'm just, you know what? It's been a couple weeks without some Flyers hockey, and I'm just ready to get back into the thick of things. Was a pretty good couple weeks though for me. That's right.
Canada, baby! Canada! Oh, Canada!
I wonder why he's happy. Nah, that was
Patriot.
I'm happy because the Flyers are back. That's
the real reason.
Let's
get into it. We
celebrate. Those colors go good together, Eric.
You know what?
Right?
Red, now you mention it, before we get into it, red and orange, they kind of do. They kind of do. They mix a little better than people believe.
Listen, he's a fashionista over there, Eric. There's no way he's not going to be color coordinated.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Eric GQ right here.
The guy looks like he could be a regular model for friggin' Old Navy.
Or maybe at least some kind of beard company or something,
Listen,
if there's anybody out there that wants to sponsor
beard.
Yeah, Garage Beer. They need you. ASAP, the Kelsey Brothers beer.
That's right.
Maybe you should pick up a sponsorship with Gillette.
Yeah. No, not like some kind of like beard oil company or something. If anyone wants to send a little oil my way, I'll take it happily.
The guy does rock a damn good beard, I gotta say. Your game is on point, Eric.
My wife's not too thrilled about it, but whatever.
Yeah. For those that don't know, Eric is sitting on 6 feet of snow right now, so that's why we're talking about a lot of beer. Definitely, there's a lot of beer going on to stay warm.
But anyway, let's move forward with with our topics for the week. Starting off, the Flyers did actually play a game yesterday against the Edmonton Oilers, and it was probably one of their best games of the year, surprisingly enough. Also, before we get into that game, a little cool gesture that happened. So after the Four Nations tournament ended on Thursday, Torts Sanheim and Konechny invited Connor McDavid to fly back with them on their plane to go back to Philly. So I thought that was a little nice, cool gesture instead of having another completely separate plane from Edmonton come all the way out and then fly to Philly and just had him meet there. So, little cool thing. Maybe recruiting. No, probably not. That would be against the league rules. But anyway, Flyers came out and they played a damn good game on yesterday against the Edmonton Oilers. A 6-3 win. They were balls to the walls that game. That rest looked like they did them great. One of the things that really came out to me in this game is the consistent forecheck. They were forcing turnovers, and their forecheck when they were in the offensive zone was absolutely excellent. Michkov had one of his best games of the year. Goal, 2 assists, 3-point game out of him. Honestly, could have been more. There was another chance he had in that second period that didn't go, that almost did. But they were flying. It was really maybe about 80 to 85% of that game when they outplayed Edmonton. It was really top to bottom, one of their best games of the year. Defensively, they looked excellent. I think Edmonton was held to under 20 shots. Urson wasn't his best game, but, that's all right. When the offense played as good as they did, you can get away with that. And Urson really made a name for himself in the Four Nations tournament in the one game he did play. We'll get to that shortly. But I got to say, overall, that Tippett, Couturier, Michkov line was dynamite. All three of them went +5. Tippett had 2 goals. One was a beauty of a backhander where he just put the Jets on in the second period. Michkov had 2 beautiful primary assists, one to each of his line mates. Couturier on that shot still somehow almost didn't score, but thankfully it bounced off the goaltender and went in off of Skinner. I will say this, another cool little tidbit about this, the Flyers did end Connor McDavid's 11-game point streak. He had 27 points in his last 11 games against the Flyers. That finally got put to bed. He was held off the score sheet, which is always good to see. When you held off the best player in the world from scoring constantly, maybe it was a little recovering still from the Four Nations tournament. The Flyers just happened to catch him on a good day. He did get the game winner against Canada. Against the U.S. with Canada, but yeah.
Get that right, eh?
Huh?
Get that right. Get that one right.
I did fix it.
Just say it.
But no, in all seriousness, that was one of their best defensive games all year. And their forecheck and ability to force turnovers were the things that really stood out to me. And Andrei Kuzmenko, welcome to the team. He got his first goal off of a broken stick redirect. That was cool to see. 2 points in 2 games. And, both of the games he's played, he's really looked like I won't say necessarily yet found a home, but he's made a very good first impression here. He's got good offensive touch. He's got a good shot. His offensive awareness is solid. The biggest weakness this guy, as we mentioned before, he's a slow skater, but I got to give it to him. He has looked good. Jamey, what did you think of this game?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, pretty much everything you said. What I give a lot of kudos to John Tortorella. And the reason I gave a lot of kudos to give a lot of kudos to Torts is to put together a Tippett, Couturier, Michkov line, which wasn't very well received on social media at all between both Facebook and Twitter. Fans were blasting, that line saying, oh, that's the slow line, or that's the line. First off, Tippett has wheels. Yes, Coots. That break didn't just do justice for Michkov, but that break did justice for Coots. I think we forget, that Coots, has a young child as well, and with that comes lack of sleep. With that, also he's recovering from, we don't know how many ailments he's had, over the course, of the duration of the season. He's not young by any means anymore, and it looked like he needed a break as well, for the Four Nations break. And I think you're looking at a Coots that looked like a 5-year ago Coots. That whole line just seemed to flourish. Tippett should have easily have had, a hat trick. He just missed from a hat trick anyway, but he definitely could have had at least a hat trick. And like you said, Michkov could have had 4 or 5 points. But it just seemed that they just had juice, and it looked like the break did them justice. Urson, I figured he'd struggle anyway, coming back from a Four Nations, tournament and being away. He didn't necessarily get a break, even though, he was sitting on the bench, primarily played in one game, for the Four Nations break. But you're practicing with the team. You just have a lot of juice, a lot of energy because of representing your nation. I'm pretty sure he had many sleepless nights, just being happy and overjoyed just to be, with Team Sweden. So I figured a bad game from him. Not necessarily that he put forth a bad game, but it wasn't like an Urson-esque the game that we got, I won't say that the Flyers were getting before the Four Nations break. And, like Alex said, the team defense, overall team defense, not just the defense. I think overall, all, the five that were on the ice that played in front of Urson played a phenomenal game. I thought that was one of the best defensive efforts all season. And I don't care if Connor McDavid, scored the game winner on Thursday night or whatever. He's a player. He's a superstar. He's the best player in the league. When you shut him down and you shut Draisaitl down, that's not an easy task. I don't care who it is and what team you're playing, to shut both those players down and make them look like they weren't a factor at all, because they weren't. It looked like that, that was their game plan, shutting both them down. I wouldn't say that was their only game plan, but when you shut those two great players down like that, that tells you something. You hold them to 17 shots coming out of a break or what? That's the effort that I thought, that Edmonton would have as opposed to the Flyers. Because usually when the Flyers have an extended break, they just don't come out well. They don't come out well at all historically. They just, it takes them usually a few games to get their feet, underneath them, get their legs back and stuff. And usually they have a lackluster, first few games, and then they start to pick it up. That's what I was expecting. I didn't expect, a 6-3 blowout. Yes, and that was a blowout. I did not expect that at all. So that sort of surprised me, but it's good to see Mitch back. I think that, most fans didn't give up on him anyway. I think most fans, know how much talent he has, but it was good for him to get confidence. And one thing I wanted to say was Kuzmenko's, presser after the game was funny. He not only broke one stick on that shift where he scored, he broke two sticks. He had to go back and get one from the bench. And actually, the goal he scored was with it in an actual broken stick. That's what he was saying after the game. He thought it was funny. He said that was one of the first times he's ever seen that, but it was funny that it even went in. He broke the stick from tapping the ice because he was banging because he was wide open and he wanted to let people know he was open, give him a puck. And he banged it so hard, didn't realize he broke his stick. And when he shot it, he looked down and he was like, "Oh, I got a broken stick," but it went in anyway. So I thought that was pretty neat. So, like Torch said, the guy just provides offensive flair. I wouldn't mind seeing him get a 1-year deal. I don't see why, the Flyers would give up on him when he's not only making a part, but I think he's an integral part to Mitchkov. I think that, you want Mitchkov to try to learn the language. You need someone around that knows the language, who's seasoned a little bit. And Kuzmenko is that. He's been around this game, in North America for 3, 4, 5 years now. I think that he could provide the experience, in North America, that he needs. It seems that they're driving pretty well.
Oh, for sure. You know what's funny about it, too, is the guy kind of has that personality, just makes everyone around you happy. Like, he kind of – remember when Briz first came here and he had all those weird interviews? Like, he's not the same as Briz, but when Brizgalov first came here, he had all those weird interviews, and everyone's like, "Oh, what's this guy going to do next? He's going to come out and give you that reason to smile and chuckle a little." It kind of gives off that type of vibe. Definitely not the same type of person as Brizgalov, because Brizgalov was in a whole nother dimension of personality. But he was he definitely brings out the good vibes. But Eric, what do you think of this game?
Well, look, for me, I've said this before here. These Saturday afternoon games are like a kick in the nuts for me because I can't fucking watch them. I only caught like half of the first period because my son, unfortunately, my son had a hockey tournament, so I had to bring him there. But no, look, I liked what I saw for that little bit that I saw. Like Jamey said, sometimes, like a lot of times when they come off from these extended breaks, they always kind of like start off slow or like just look lackluster. But no, I like to compete. I like the way they played. When I was watching like the highlights and looking into it, like I can't say like they put up a great effort. And look, they didn't beat us. They didn't beat up some slouch team, right? They beat up the Oilers. The Oilers are a very good team, and they went head to head with them and even dominated at points. So look, I can't complain, man. That was a great way that's a great first game back off the break.
Oh, for sure. Like when you look at this just as a whole, defensively, they were just completely stifled, as me and Jamey and even you just mentioned. They did not give them much room to breathe. That first period was a little open, But after that, I think Edmonton had like 2 or 3 shots in the third period.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They were down 2 goals. So when you get into an opportunity like that, you expect the opposition to come out and play with a little bit more extra juice, being down and desperate. And he just couldn't get anything going. It never really felt like this game was in danger in that third period.
Mm.
But anything else before we move on to the Four Nations?
Nope.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think that topic was covered pretty well.
Yeah. So with that being said, Four Nations tournament, just had that, and I gotta say, absolute smashing success, top to bottom. The NHL hit an absolute grand slam with this. Viewership was off the charts, and there's a bunch of reasons as to why. Obviously, the political issues had part of it to do. You also had the factor of how much it was being advertised over the major markets too. Like, I see ESPN talking about this more than usually would, and it looked like it was more of a way to talk down the NBA. Their losses are gain, but whatever, besides the point. And then obviously on Saturday, with the 3 fights that happened in the opening 9 seconds of that US-Canada game, like, it was at that moment, everyone was like glued, like, holy crap, these guys are going balls to the walls. This truly does feel like the Olympics. Any international play really does get that extra spark. Not to toot my own horn too, but thanks to Mr. Jamey Baskow, I did have the opportunity to go to the games in Boston. And again, Jamey, I appreciate you so much.
Dude, you earned that. You earned that, and you don't have to say thank you at all. That's you. That's you as a person, man. You deserved it.
I appreciate that. It was the experience of a lifetime going to both of those games. I just want to take a quick minute or two to talk about it. Saturday, Monday, I got there relatively early. I tried to get there the first game was at 1. I got there a little after 9. The only bad thing was the Garden charged an arm and a leg for parking. I didn't realize this till I got there. I figured an all-day thing would be like $50. He charged $65 a game. It was crazy.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it was $130 for parking. But that's on me. I should have found other methods of transportation. But anyway, getting there was awesome. Like, sitting in the media room, being around all these high-end guys. I saw Cervelli, Elliot Friedman, Jaron Drager. There was a lot of big-name guys. I met some really cool people there as well that I made some connections with. You guys named Trey Matthews, special shout-out to him, New Jersey Devils beat writer for Puck. I can't remember the exact name. Pitchforks, Pucks with Pitchforks, I believe the name of it is. Jim Binninger, also Devils beat writer, really cool dude. Showed me around the ropes a little bit. He was an awesome dude to get to know. I made friends with another Bruins and Panthers beat writer too. All 4 of them were awesome. They all gave me some great knowledge. And, I got to meet up with some of the players, which is awesome. I got in interviews with Eero Vakanainen with Team Finland. I was right next to Devon Taves out of Colorado from Team Canada. And then the coolest part was getting in the locker room with Team Canada after the Canada and Finland game. I was maybe 3 feet away from Sidney Crosby. But I'm like looking over their heads, kind of like with the camera and the mic, trying to get some level.
Me too. That's how I saw him.
What's up?
Sorry. I said me too for Crosby. I saw him like you.
Yeah.
The coolest thing was literally face to this camera of Cale Makar, of how close I was to him. And I actually even got to ask him a question, and he answered it respectfully. It was really cool. So,
and by the way, let me say, it's on Don't Puck with Media on the channel. Yep. Those interviews that he got and all that is there. So go check it out.
Go check it out on our channel. I got 4 of them up there. I didn't put up the Crosby one because the quality of it was pretty mediocre. But I did put up the Vakanainen interview. I put up the Devon Taves interview, the Cale Makar one. And I also got a little tidbit of John Cooper as well when after that game ended. So I got a lot of cool interviews in that first game. Second game, not quite as much. Unfortunately, the games went late, and I did have work the next day. But it was an absolutely incredible experience. I did go on Thursday as well. It was also similar to Monday's second game as well, where I did get to see a lot of the media guys, but unfortunately the game ended so late and I couldn't quite get any more actual visual content, but it was still an absolutely incredible experience. So NHL, fantastic job. Jamey, again, thank you so much for hooking me up with this opportunity. I loved it. Potentially get more of this in the future.
Yeah.
But awesome time.
Did you get to see Marchand, TK ride Marchand's back? Did you see?
Yes,
did you get a quick
I did.
back?
I was in nosebleeds for it. I tried getting interview video of it, but I would put my phone away in between, like.
Yeah. I understand.
And then when he comes out, I'm like, oh crap! Trying to search my phone, pull up the video thing in time, but by the time I did, he'd already gotten to the trophy.
It's funny that one of the most hated players by the Flyers fan base now wants him to be signed. In the offseason,
they were really buddy. They were really buddy that entire. That wasn't the only thing I saw those two.
That's cool.
You know what I think it is Brad Marchand sees a lot of himself in Travis Konecny.
Yeah. Oh, they're both similar players. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Very similar style of play. They both play physical with their size. They both broke out. They both get under everyone's skin.
Absolutely.
That's exactly this. Travis Konecny is Brad Marchand pretty much extended.
So were there locker stalls next to each other in the locker room for
I didn't
Canada?
see exactly where everyone's locker was when I was in there for some of the interviews. They only had a few players come out, but I didn't see exactly where each player's locker was. But like I said, it was just a media meltdown, and everyone was going in there just trying to talk to the few players that were there. But it was incredible regardless. But not to talk about me all day. Let's go into this tournament. It was awesome showing. Team Canada came out victorious, 3-2 in an overtime win over the U.S. in the final.
Go Canada!
Canada earned it. They played great. I think the U.S.'s fatigue kind of showed at the end. Team Sweden also got a win as well over Team U.S., which is surprising, over the back of Philadelphia Flyers goaltender Sam Ersson. That was pretty cool to see. I know U.S. was resting a handful of guys, but to see Ersson just stand on his head on that game. He allowed a bad rebound in the first minute of the game. U.S. went up 1-0, and then he was lights out the rest of the game. U.S. just could not solve him.
Ersson was good. Ersson was good that game, yeah. I think that Sweden doesn't win without Ersson in that.
Oh, for sure. I don't think any of the other goalies replicate, at least for that game, replicate what Ersson did there. And it was funny. He was the fourth choice of Team Sweden. I mean, because obviously Markstrom was hurt. Olmark was ill, I believe. And I think they already planned on Gustafsson not playing because he played.
I think that's largely due to injury, though, because, Ersson was banged up and, injured for about a month and a half of the season. So I don't think, they got the full Ersson, throughout. So I think that's why he was, picked as number 4. I just wanted to say that because I don't think he would have been number 4. If he was healthy the whole year with the way Ersson was playing, towards, the tail end of the break there, there's no way he would have been 4 because now you're seeing a healthy Ersson and what he provides. It's a number 1 netminder for sure.
Oh, yeah. Eric, so as a fan of the winning country, I need to ask your opinion. How did you enjoy the tournament?
Oh, well, I love this tournament. I really can't complain, look, man, we saw best on best, and what hockey could be at its, at its highest level. And that was it was amazing. And look, at the end of the day, also, it was very low scoring, but you have to understand also, when you have basically almost every defensive pair could have been a first pair on any NHL team, and 1 through 4, and I'm talking about Canada or USA, 1 through 4, their lines could have been first lines on any team in the NHL almost, so look, it was great. The hockey was amazing. It was very tight, very, and look, I thought that first game, Canada-USA, also a very tight game. USA had a game plan to play against Canada, and they pulled it off perfectly. Canada couldn't do anything down the middle. There was nothing they could have done. And look, USA squeaked out that victory, and great game. And then look, Canada got their revenge in the finals. And look, honestly, I have to say one thing I really have to say is because Connor McDavid got player of the game for the final game for the. I keep on wanting to say gold medal game, but it's not a gold medal game.
Yeah.
It's a championship game. Okay, let's say the championship game.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I would have given that to Jordan Binnington.
Bennington, yeah.
All day, every day.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He made some huge saves in that overtime. He robbed Austin Matthews.
He
won that game.
Won in overtime by Jordan Binnington.
Binnington won that game.
Jordan Binnington won that game.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There was 3 separate occasions where he made just lights out. 2, I think, 2 with the glove, 1 with the block, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That game could have been finished easily by the US, but like he came up huge, and that allowed McDavid to get that last game winner. And honestly, I have no clue. I put it out on Twitter how McDavid was just open in the slot like that. Like all tournament, the US played such a great structured defensive game.
I know how.
Then you just see McDavid wide open in the slot.
No, I know how. Matthews made a mistake in a decision he made to cover for Fox to go at Marner.
I wasn't sure if it was Matthews' mistake or Hughes' mistake. Because
Matthews, I think.
Anyway, but either way.
Rick just loves giving reason to blame Austin Matthews.
No, this is legit. No, listen, it's not my...
He's to blame, he's to blame.
We'll take him to Philly. Bring him to Philly. Bring him to Philly. We'll take him.
It's not my analysis. I was watching stuff, and it was him. Fox was behind the play going after Marner, and Matthews made a decision to go at Marner instead of covering McDavid. A split-second decision that I'll give him. It was a split-second decision, but he made the wrong one.
Yeah, and you didn't see McDavid wide open in the slot, and that's what cost him. Marner, of all people, made the game-winning pass. So, I got to say, while I still have my questions about Marner in the playoffs and the physicality picks up, he had some moments in this tournament. I got to give him that.
Okay, but he was also equally bad at times too.
I won't disagree with that. I agree. He had moments where he went missing, but he had big moments too. He had the game-winning goal in the first game of the entire tournament,
right?
And then he had the game-winning assist to the McDavid goal. So I mean, you got to give him credit for those
props. Got to give him props when they're due.
Oh, yeah.
I will say players that stood out to me personally on all the teams. I thought Nathan McKinnon was the best player on the ice. He was lights out every single game he played, and he did win MVP. So I might just be saying like I'm reading off a transcript, but he was fantastic. He was so damn noticeable, especially in that final game that I watched.
Yeah.
He made big play after big play after big play. You had the opening goal. He was creating opportunities. He was constantly getting pucks on Hellebuck. He made Hellebuck look shaky in the first parts of that period. He was like a speed demon out there creating opportunities. Another guy that really stood out, as mentioned, Jordan Binnington. He really stepped up in that final. And the difference of Cale Makar not being there, too. When Makar came back for that second game against the U.S., he showed why he is the best defenseman in the world. He created opportunities. He broke up plays in the defensive end. He started out breakouts. He was everywhere. He was creating plays left and right for them, or starting plays left and right, I should at least say. And then there's guys that really didn't show up. I got to say, in the U.S.'s end, I don't know where Jack Hughes was this. I thought he was bad.
He was bad.
Adam Fox was bad.
No.
I think every Ranger was bad that played for the U.S., all 4 of them, except maybe JT Miller was more on the meh category, but Trocheck was bad. Fox was bad. I don't even know why Kreider was on this team, with all due respect to him. I can name 3 guys for sure I would have took over him, whether that be Clayton Keller, Cole Caulfield, or Tage Thompson. All 3 of them deserved a spot over him. But just some ups and downs from the U.S. and Canada teams that I
from a Canadian's point of view, and I said this before the game, Canada's going to win because we're Canada. We can dig deeper. We're going to dig deeper. And especially with the political stuff that was going on, Canada's guys were playing for country and flag, and it meant something to them. And that was the difference. Yeah. And the fact that the U.S. players we're using that stuff with how Trump was so strong. As motivation, the Canadian players said, yeah, we're going to show you. And that's what they did.
I actually think your coaching staff was phenomenal. I give a lot of kudos to the coaching staff of Canada. You know, they made some really tough decisions. There was a lot of talk about, they're misusing the goaltenders. You know, it just seemed like the coaching staff just kept getting hit after hit. You know what I mean? But you have a phenomenal coach back there, one of the best coaches, I think, in hockey, all of hockey. You know, I was shocked that he took that much flack. I couldn't believe it. So I think what won was the coaching. I think they made key decisions, made some really tough decisions, some head-scratching decisions from a Flyers perspective. Travis Konechny was benched, you know, in the finale. You know, that took balls. But look, every player that they benched came in and scored a goal. Look, TK was benched for Sam Bennett. What do you do? Scored a goal. You know, so like made the coaching staff like look really smart on who they benched. And these aren't no slouches. I just think that Canada's so talented, and that I think they want to get every single player in because every single player is as talented as the other. It's not like TK was benched for anybody. You know what I mean? TK was benched for a great player. You know what I mean? It wasn't like TK. TK was putting up great numbers, but it wasn't like, oh, okay, let's bench him because we got Kuzmenko coming in. You know what I mean? No, I mean, they're just that player is just as talented as the player sitting next to him.
Yeah.
And I think that took a lot of balls. I think the coaching staff for Canada doesn't get enough, you know, notoriety. I think they won them the tournament. I just think that the U.S. got out coached, in my opinion, my personal opinion. Like you're talking about players who should have been selected, Alex, and stuff. I think Mike Sullivan was a little shaky in the finale there. I thought Torts is an associate coach there. But I think that they both got out coached by Canada. I think that was the underlying. And I want to give kudos to both sides here. I want to give kudos to the Canadian fans. I want to give kudos to the U.S. fans. I thought they did a phenomenal job. Okay, the booing, whatever. Okay, no, you know, whatever. But both fan bases were juiced and ready to go. I just thought they put on a great show. Both fans handled that, you know, way. I think both fan bases made that tournament. You know, it was like you showed why Canada loves hockey there. The Canadians, that is their sport, you know, and the purpose of the Four Nations tournament is not just to have any tournament, it's to grow the sport of hockey. And I think they did. I think that a lot of people that tuned in, look, the Four Nations, not the finale, but what was it? The Canada-US, the first game where they dropped it, you know, had 3 fights, you know, within the first 9 seconds. That was the most watched NHL game in what history, right? What isn't that what it was?
It wasn't history, but it was in 2019, I believe.
2019. So, like, the purpose of the sport is to grow the sport of hockey. That's what this tournament was about. And I think you did. I think I saw people at my work, you know, talking about it, you know, and stuff. And people that don't even follow the sport of hockey and just support it because of me or you or, you know, the next person, they were talking about it. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked on how well, you know, but when I saw the first Canadian game, you know, I was like, okay, the fans are into this, man. This is going to be a phenomenal tournament because I think the fans really make the tournament. It could be a great game on the ice, but if you don't have that passion behind, you know, and hearing the buzzing and hearing the anthems and stuff, that should give you juice, you know. And the fans were just going. It was nonstop cheering. I was like, man,
it was electric. It was electric.
You couldn't even hear yourself. Like,
so loud, I could feel it in my chest.
Yeah,
that's how. Yeah,
it makes you feel really good inside. Like it's like it sinks. It's like, okay, this is what it's about here. So both fan bases, you know, get kudos. They really do. You know, I thought that, you know, the way they received this tournament was great, and the fans really made it. So that's my angle of the tournament. I thought Jordan Binnington, it's great that Eric mentioned Jordan, you know, because he didn't get enough clout, you know, for the entire tournament and stuff. And I thought, you know, and John, you know, they were getting, the coaching staff was getting hit because, maybe Binnington, I can't believe why he's starting and stuff like that. And here he goes out and puts forth that awesome game. It's just, I think the U.S. got out coached.
Can I say something about Binnington? Funny story. I was the same, like you were saying, right? I was kind of down on him, and blah blah. So after the game, it was like I kind of apologized to him on my the stream and everything. And then I saw a video of a fan doing the same thing. I thought it was super funny. Like, I'm sorry that I said bad things about you. And I'm sorry. Like, really. And, I was the same way. So I thought
Jordan Binnington loves playing in TD Garden. I don't know what it is about that arena that just lights him up. It happened in 2019, happened now. He just loves playing at the Garden.
Great.
But, yeah, how about the Flyers that took place? Eric, give me your take on that. How did you think of the 3 Flyers in the tournament in general?
Well, look, I'll start with Urson. Urson only played 1 game, and he was fantastic. So, yeah, like, he did what he had to do, and he helped Sweden get a victory in the tournament. So I thought he was lights out, but, like, nothing I'm surprised about because, you know what? He's been solid for us this season. Like, other than when he's been hurt or whatever, but, like, since Christmas, he's been on fire, Samuel Urson. So I was not surprised to see that. And second, Sanheim. Sanheim was a beast this tournament. Like, I hope that now, like, the world can see, like, or the other NHL watchers can see that Sanheim is actually like a legitimate defenseman, and maybe he can be a first pair defenseman. I don't know. I don't. Maybe he's not that like elite number 1, but I think he showed that. Like, look, against the best of the best, man, this guy competed. This guy held his own.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of talk about this guy being like the seventh defenseman, and maybe Mackenzie Weegar should be in instead of him, or maybe this guy or whatever. But like, no, I
Bouchard
thought
was
he
another
was
name.
extremely solid this tournament. And then you have TK. Look, he played limited games there because he was pretty much the 13th forward. Him and Seth Jarvis in and out. But like, look, I thought he maybe struggled a bit the first game against Sweden, and because I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was a -2 in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And but look, for me, TK, because he was on the 4th line, right? If he's not a 4th line player, so he's got to be. He has to be player. He has to play higher up in your. He's got to be in the top 9 basically.
Yeah.
And I would have loved, honestly, I would have loved to see him on like replace Mark Stone, because I like, not that Mark Stone had a bad tournament, but I thought like he could have been like on a 4th line and given like a Seth Jarvis or a TK enough more of an offensive role up in the lineup. But now, is it because maybe the coaching staff didn't trust TK? Because we all know that TK will make a mistake here and there. So I don't know if maybe that also kind of played into the whole thing and why he was on a 3rd line, on a 4th line, excuse me. But or else, no, I thought the second game he played against Finland, he was a lot better. So,
Oh, sure.
I can't. And just quick to say about the what Jamey said about the coaching with Team Canada. Look, after the first US game, they shuffled the lines completely. And I think that's it. John Cooper saw that and he's like, this is just not working. And he reshuffled the lines for the Finland game, and you saw they were working a lot better. There was more chemistry, and then the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. I'll say about this when it comes to the Flyers that did play. Obviously, Urson looked great in 1 game that he played. I already mentioned that. Sanheim, that Finland game, I think, was for sure his best game. He had the rebound goal that Braden Point put in to go up 3-0 in that one. I thought he honed down pretty well. The second game, his first game overall, the second game of the tournament, I thought he was so. Final, I thought he created more offensive opportunities. Him and McDavid seemed like they had a little bit of chemistry going together, funny enough. Konechny, I was a little surprised to see him get scratched for both U.S. games because I thought Canada would have wanted to match U.S.'s physicality a little bit. And I thought a line of Marchand, Bennett, and Konechny would have been good to send out there to go against some of the heavy hitters that U.S. has. I mean, you look at that U.S. team, the Tchucks can play a physical style of game by themselves. Obviously, Jack Eichel is a good 2-way guy. And then a lot of their defensemen play pretty physical too. But when you look at it, I thought that he would have been a good play, especially for that final game. He definitely struggled in the first game against Sweden, no doubt about that. But I thought he played well in that game against Finland. Like I said, I thought Marchand, Bennett, and Konechny had a little something going together. So I was a little surprised to see Jarvis come back in for him. Not that Seth Jarvis is a bad player. I just thought they would have wanted to go with a more scrappy edge to their play. And yeah, that's really about all I had on it. But mainly, I'm just happy as well as Urson played in that third game against the U.S. Jamey, what do you think?
I'll take a different angle from the both of you. I just wanted to say Travis Konechny was out. You know, he was out because of illness. What was it? The day before they had a very good practice, and he didn't practice because he was scratched due to illness. So I wonder if they put him on the fourth line to protect him, so he didn't have to play as much because they knew he wasn't necessarily 100%. And no one knows what type of illness it was. Is it, obviously it's not mono because I don't think he would have played yesterday, but it could have been, there was a massive stomach bug that was going around and hit my house. It took us out for a week here. So like
there was something going around. They said that, and a bunch of players on different teams were out with illness. And I heard it in broadcast or something it was something that was going around.
Yeah. And I wonder if that affected him. And that's why, for one, he was scratched in both games against the U.S. because they knew, obviously, after the first U.S. game that it was going to be a physical, event, the finale leading up, because what transpired, 3 fights in 9 seconds. It wasn't just about the fights. It was just nonstop hitting and physicality, rubbing against the boards, much more physicality than fans, thought, before the tournament began would transpire. So I think that they protected Travis Konechny and only played him in 2 games with limited minutes because he wasn't feeling well. I think that, and I will ask him at morning skate on Tuesday, because I'm going to be at morning skate at Flyers morning skate. And so Torts usually speaks at 10:15. You get Torts' talk, and then the Flyers, they skate, and then we're able to go into the locker rooms, usually like around 11:15 or so. So I think, we'll get about a half hour in the locker room, and I'll talk to TK then and ask him, what's going on, what was happening in terms of the tournament, and if the illness was a reason. Like we said, you're talking about benching TK for Sam Bennett, benching TK for Seth Jarvis. Both are really good players. I mean, so can't really ridicule the Canadian coaching staff for saying, oh, you brought in, so-and-so. Well, they're both, very similar players. Look, both players scored a goal and for who TK was benched. Seth Jarvis had a goal in the finale, right? Sam Bennett had a goal, in the game that he was benched, So, like, I don't know. It's one of those things. But I thought Sanheim, it was really good to not hear his name. I think when you don't hear a defenseman's name, I think it's better. I think when you start hearing a defenseman's name too much, that means either A, he's not playing well or getting beat, and so it was great to see him put forth, a great tournament. And like Eric said, you're talking about benching him for Mackenzie, for another player. All these players are very talented players. So like if he did get benched for, said player, Uyghur or what, okay, it is what it is. I mean, they're both very talented players, but it was just nice for Sanheim to show, hey, I should be a mainstay. I should be a focal point for Canadian hockey here. And I think that's what he put forth. I think that's what he needed. In terms of Samuel Ersson, it was great to see a healthy Samuel Ersson. And I think that's what he provides. When healthy, he's a beast. He's just a really good goalie. I don't think that, Flyers fans give him enough notoriety. People are still debating if he's a number 1 netminder. I don't think you have to. I think the only thing that would hold Ersson back from being a number 1 netminder is his health. It's him. Is he able to stay healthy? That would be the key. He's a number 1 netminder, but he has to stay healthy.
Yeah, durability has always been an issue with him. Hopefully we can get a good, healthy rest of the season with him, which will lead us into our next topic. Second half has begun. Finish line is somewhat in sight. We now have, with yesterday's game concluding, only 24 games left. The trade deadline, as we record this, is only 12 days away. So let's go right into this and talk about this. We got some big things that still need to be accomplished. First topic of discussion is, what do you guys want to see the rest of the way from this team? Eric, let me start with you. What do you want to see from this Flyers team their remaining 24 games? It still looks very unlikely they're going to make the playoffs, but just as a whole, what do you want this team to show you the last third of the season?
Well, basically, look, what I want to see is I want to see them continue to compete, and I want to see them like basically not give up, right? Just be in every game as much as you possibly can. Because look, we all know that we lack that elite talent, especially like up the middle, and although we do have some quality wingers, but like I said again, we don't have that elite talent. We have a couple players that might become that one day, but right now they're not there yet. They're just starting off their careers. But like, look, yeah, but we don't have an easy schedule coming up. Like, I know we have a back-to-back, sorry, against Pittsburgh, coming up the next couple games. But then after that, I was looking at the schedule. I'm like, from March 1st all the way to March 25th. That's the 13 games. 10 are against playoff teams. 3 are against non-playoff teams. So look, that's gonna be like a big time stretch where they gotta, they gotta compete. They gotta at least stay with these teams, keep up with these teams, because I don't expect them to win that many games. Like, look, they beat Edmonton last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say. So like, look, great, and the way they played was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always said it. I think the best thing for them this year is to end up with a higher draft pick, and if this little stretch here is gonna put us a bit like behind the 8 ball, let's say, and keep on like sliding us down the standings, honestly, like that'd be great. But as long as, and I think this is what the Flyers want too. I think they want the team to compete, to stick it out with the teams that they're playing. It's just that they know, and we know, they don't have the talent to win most of these games. They'll maybe pull 1 or 2 out of like 3 or 4 or 5. But like, but then like then I was looking at it this way also, like from March 27 to April 17, so like the last 9 games of the season, they play 8 non-playoff teams and 1 playoff team. So honestly, I don't know how this thing is gonna go. I can tell, like, I think it all depends on also the trade deadline, what happens, and we'll talk about that later. But look, for the remainder of the season, that's all I want to see. I want to see how the team's gonna play down the stretch. Hopefully, they don't give up. They don't like pack it in. That's I just want to see compete, and I want to see like certain players keep on progressing. Like, look, Mishkov had a great game last night. So did Tippett, and that's great for me because I actually have both of them in my hockey pool. So I had a great night last night with them. So yeah, no, but like Forrester, I want to see like how Forrester finished the season. Cates, I want to see how Cates finishes the season. Like, look, they've slowed down a little bit also, but at the same time, like I feel like Torts is using them as a first line, so they're getting first line matchups.
Yeah.
So I pretty much expected the offense to dry up a little bit because they're like let's get serious here. They're not a first line, like But yeah, no, look, that's what I want to see. I just want to see them just not give up. Basically, that's what I want to see. Just don't throw in the towel and just compete. That's it. That's what I want to see for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
All good points. All good points for sure. Jamey, how about yourself?
Well, pretty much alluding to what Eric said, I want to see competitiveness. I want to see them compete because you know what? Torts mentioned a few weeks ago, and it was 2 weeks before the Four Nations break began, that he mentioned something in his presser that many didn't pick up on, but I noticed it, and hopefully you guys noticed it as well. He said that they're still evaluating, like still seeing who's part of the solution and who's not part of the solution moving forward. So if players are going to pack it in, those are players I don't want, moving forward, me in particular anyway. If Bobby Brink, Tyson Forrester, Noah Cates, Sean Couturier, Travis Konechny, if all these, and I mentioned them, Rasmus Ristolainen, Sanheim, whatever, if they're going to, or Ryan Poling, every single player that's wearing that sweater, if you're going to lack and you're going to pack it in because, your said team isn't making the playoffs, goodbye. Good riddance. I honestly have nothing for you. I think it's time to move forward then. That's my TED Talk for the day. You're going to pack it in. You're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. Goodbye. Good riddance. I've always felt that way. It's interesting that what Eric says. This is a tough schedule. This is make it or break it, not just for this season. I'm not even looking for the playoffs because I don't think it's going to happen, but this is make it or break it to see who is here next season and beyond. Because those players that aren't are possibly the players that have packed it in. And goodbye. Got nothing for you. You have a lot to play for. This is a rebuild. Each player has been given a clean slate, whether you're Sean Couturier, whether you're Travis Konechny, whether you're Tyson Forrester, whether you're Noah Cates or whatever. You have a clean slate. It's like a clean bill of health to see if you're going to be here next season or not. To see, maybe, okay, hey, Noah Cates, yeah, you deserve a long-term contract. Let's give you 4 years. But if you're going to pack it in, goodbye. You know what I mean? Then you're not deserving of that contract. Give him a 1 year, maybe. I don't know. But that's what I want to see. I want to see this team compete. Because you know what? We saw a young player by the name of Matvei Michkov yesterday on the ice there. You have to play for him. You have to play for Coots. Coots played his butt off. Owen Tippett played his butt off. You know what I mean? Those said players definitely didn't pack it in. The entire defense didn't pack it in. Sam Merson didn't pack it in. And I'm not singling all these players out because I think the team played very well and that was a well-orchestrated game. But if this is what we're going to get yesterday's afternoon game for the rest of the season, I'll be very happy with that because that's a ton of effort. Win or lose, that was tons of effort on the ice, shown on display by every single player wearing that sweater. That is what I want to see. They don't have to play a perfect game. They don't have to win. I don't care if they win, in my opinion, because I had them missing the playoffs anyway or on the bubble of such. So it's not about winning or losing at this point. It's about I want to see that team that played yesterday. I want to see a team that gave their all. Even if they lose 6-3, just give your all. Don't pack it in. Don't skate with bags under your, you know what I mean? Skate and stuff. No, there's a lot to play for. Andrei Kuzmenko is playing for a contract, possibly. Jakub Peltier is even though he's an RFA, the Flyers do not have to offer him a contract. Just because he's an RFA, the Flyers do not have to offer Peltier, a contract at all. Let's see if they're part of the solution moving forward. I don't think Kuzmenko gets moved at the deadline. Not with the way he's played these two games, and with the way Torts talked about him yesterday. Torts said very key words to me yesterday. Not to me personally, but what I'm saying to me that stuck out. Coachable. When a coach says that player is coachable, that sounds like to me that he won't be moved. If he doesn't throw that word coachable out there, it's possible. But what he said was, I like him. I think he's done well. I really like this kid. He seems like a really good kid. I think he's very coachable. He went on the bench. He tapped him on the bench because he made a mistake defensively. Goes to him. He talks to him. This is what Torts said during his presser. He went to him. He talked to him. And the next play, the same thing happened, and he didn't make that mistake again. I think that's a player that's part of the solution with Torts. Because if Torts is going to come over and talk to a player, you don't find very many players like that. Some players are resistant. Some players are like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Being his age, what is Kuzmenko, 28 years old? Being his age, 29. He's been in the league, 5-6 years now, so he doesn't have to necessarily listen to Torts to some retrospect. He doesn't have to show that he's not listening, but inside, he doesn't have to listen to him. But that showed me right there, he's part of the solution. I can't just see Danny Briere saying, okay, let's trade this guy. I see possibly a 1 year or 2 year deal coming his way because if he's going to continue to show that, not even put up points, because what does he have, a goal and an assist in 2 games with the Flyers? He doesn't necessarily have to put up points, but being how he's playing and he's happy and he's making others around him happy, I don't see that person being moved at the deadline. I don't. I think it's going to be a very minor trade deadline this year. I don't even see Scott Lawton being traded, Flyers fans. I hear a lot of rumors. Everyone's heard rumors. I don't know. Until I see it, I don't believe it because these rumors have been here for the past 2 or 3 years, and Scott Lawton's still here today. So honestly, I'd have to see it to believe it. I don't think that they're just going to say, hey, let's go trade, because the first round pick they're going to get is going to be a 31st or 32nd pick anyway. So it's not like, oh, yeah, cool, they got a first for him. If it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, I expect Toronto to be right there until the end. You know what I mean? I don't see them being first round and out. If they are first round and out, then there's something wrong in Toronto. I see them being there at the end. If Toronto's going to move for Lawton, you're expecting a 31st or 32nd pick, which is like a second round pick anyway at that point. So it's not imperative that the Flyers like move him. But I just don't. I won't see. I won't believe it until I see it.
So for me, the rest of the year, I'm going to kind of piggyback off you guys a little bit. Compete. I want to just see this team play hard. And I'm not worried about their actual compete level because Tortorella always gets the best out of them. They always are going to be playing hard. This is a team that you never really truly have to worry about in terms of lack of effort or trying. But I want to see them night in and night out and just play hard and try to build off of something for next year. I think this roster is going to look significantly different next year. I think there are going to be some guys who are on this roster right now that won't be here. And I think these next 24 games might determine that at the end of the day. I mean, you got your guys, for sure are going to be staying. Mitchkov ain't going anywhere. Konechny ain't going anywhere. Sanheim's likely not going anywhere just because of the situation that he's in with his no movement clause. I don't see Sealer going anywhere. I think he's got trade protection too. They seem like they're pretty invested on Owen Tippett, so I think it's rather unlikely he gets moved. But there's guys I look at, and I wonder I think Forrester's likely to stay here too, but maybe they look at a guy like a Bobby Brink, for example. They have so many right wingers. Maybe they consider moving him. I like him. I think he's taken a step forward. Maybe it's an opportunity to sell high. Cam York's another guy. This team has already been pretty adamant. They've pretty much come out and said that they are wanting to get a 1C this summer. They're going to go big fish hunting. Cam York could be a piece that could require getting that. And I feel like Emil Adre is someone who is potentially able to replicate a lot of the stuff that York does at a cheaper price and at a younger age. Now, I'm not saying you give up on York, but you have to give something up to get something. And you know what? I kind of want to take back a little bit of what I said on Tippett, because I have mentioned in the past that maybe he could get moved. Maybe I won't completely shut the door on him. I feel like I'm kind of swinging the fences on that one, whether he might be moved or not. I don't think so. I think it's rather unlikely. But he's another guy in that Cam York territory I can look at. They may have to give something up to get something. I think York, though, is more likely than Tippett, especially since they just signed him to an 8-year extension. But I look at some of these guys, and it's like, who stays, who goes? And I think these next 24 games could determine that. And the trade deadline coming up is going to be massive, too. You have quite a few names on Frank Saravelli's big board. Rasmus Ristolainen and Scott Laughton are both in the top 4 right now. As Jamey said before he had to head out, Scott Laughton is a guy who he doesn't believe is going to move. I feel like I'm kind of 50-50 on him. I have had prior years where I don't think he was going to move. I feel more inclined it's more likely this year than prior years. I still don't think it's a definitive thing, but teams like Toronto and Winnipeg have expressed some considerable interest in him. And, Toronto doesn't have a first this year. I don't know if Winnipeg does or not, but I know for sure Toronto doesn't. But maybe you want to start building up the 2026 draft a little bit. And Toronto's first could do that. And they really could use some depth forward down the middle. Scott Laughton could be a perfect 3C for them. He's on pace for about 40 points this year. He looks like he's revitalized a little bit. And both Laughton and Ristolainen have term left. So it kind of takes the pressure off of needing to sign these guys in the offseason. Rasmus Ristolainen is another guy, as we've mentioned. Teams like Dallas, Winnipeg, maybe even Vegas now that Shea Theodore's out. That could be a team to watch. Opportunities galore here. Maybe even a team like Florida. I mean, especially if Matthew Tkachuk's injury is worse than we think, and they could use another good defenseman. I was talking to the Florida Panthers beat writer there. He said that they could use another top 4 defenseman. I think that's a possibility, especially as I just mentioned, if Tkachuk goes on LTIR for some reason, because I don't know what his injury is. I haven't really caught up, so maybe they haven't provided an update, but He was laboring pretty significantly from what I heard at the end of Thursday night. So, and he didn't play the second half of that game in a final of the Four Nations tournament. So take that for what it's worth. There's names out there. I agree with Jamey on Kuzmenko. I think the fact that he waived his no trade clause tells a lot in this. A guy like him, that Briere and Jonesy quoted saying they needed him, as I've stated on prior shows before, tells a lot. I don't know if it's because they need him for Mitchkov. I don't know if they need him just for his potential power play prowess and to help boost the power play. I don't know if it's potentially able to lure a free agent or a certain 1C in Vancouver that I've mentioned before as well, whose stock seems like it's trending down, by the way. So I don't know. Take that for what it's worth as well. So there's a lot of pieces here to unravel. I do think Ristolainen gets moved. I think it's a coin flip with Scott Laughton. I feel like that's like a 50-50 shot. I don't think Kuzmenko's going anywhere. Brink could be a potential offseason move. I don't know. I think Cates will likely stay. I have no worry Forster's going to be here. He's not going anywhere. And some of the other guys that I mentioned as well. But I definitely see some change on this roster next season. And I think one or two of these guys could potentially be moved at this deadline. But that's my final thought on what I want to see over the next few. And, one last thing I want to add. I want to see Matvei Michkov tear it up in this final 24 games. He already started great with a 3-point game yesterday. I want to see this guy end up somehow scratching 60 points. And I think he has the skill capabilities of doing that. He's at 39 right now. He got a good 2 weeks of rest. He had a streak where he had 27 points in 27 games. So he's certainly capable of doing it. I just want to see him go on a tear in the second half. Eric, anything else you want to add before we move on to wrapping things up with next week's games?
Well, no. Well, as it comes to the trade deadline, look, we're in a position where usually a lot of the times, like the players that move at the trade deadline are usually UFAs, right? And we're just in one of those situations where, look, our only real Kuzmenko, obviously, we just traded for, and Eric Johnson. I don't think Eric Johnson's going anywhere. And look, Kuzmenko, me and Jamey had actually talked about it the last pod that we did 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Unless you're getting like a first or a second back for Kuzmenko, like what's even the point of trading him? Like you might as well just keep him and just like evaluate what you have in the guy and try and sign him if you like what he brings to the team. And like we also said, like it's just another friend for Michkov, a guy that's a bit more experienced in the league, a guy that speaks English a little bit better than Michkov does. A guy that Michkov, like, look, at the end of the day, like, just like any other person, like somebody, like you'd like to have a conversation with somebody at some point, like somebody that you could talk to, and like having an extra Russian, I'm sure will make Michkov feel a lot more easy and a lot like better in his situation. So for me, I see, like I said, unless you're getting a first or a second somehow back for Kuzmenko, there's no point in trading him. Honestly, there's no point. So I don't. So that's it. So I don't see him going anywhere. Risto and Laughton have the highest value, and they both have term. So, and like Danny said, look, they have term. We don't have to trade them. So either you blow us away, or I'm sorry, we're gonna hang on to them. So that's why. Like I don't know. Like it could be like a super quiet deadline for the Flyers, or it could be like a really busy one. Because look, like you mentioned, Bobby Brink. Like I wouldn't be surprised if maybe someone made you an offer for Bobby Brink, even just for like a little bit of a depth, like a depth third line somewhere on your team, like Minnesota. Minnesota makes so much sense, and he's actually been rumored to Minnesota and at certain points. So yeah, and look, even I don't know if it would happen, but like maybe a guy like Zamula, maybe some team sees, oh, you know what, this good, decent young defenseman. Not a super high cap hit, 1.7 million. One more year after this, maybe Zamula gets moved for like a second, third, fourth round pick, something like that.
Yeah.
Because we got look, Grons is coming up. Melandre needs a spot. We have defensemen, Bonk that's he's gonna be playing in the AHL next year. So we got guys that are coming. So I can maybe see it because Zamula being moved if ever. And one guy I don't think it would happen, but like Kolosov too. Like who knows? Maybe there
Yeah.
is a team that would be willing to give you a second or a third for the guy, and like just you know what, let this be somebody else's problem. If somebody wants to keep him as a backup up, because that's another thing that like lately has been again I don't understand. Like they brought him up during the All-Star game, but never sent him back down.
Yeah, I
He
didn't
went to
get that either.
Belarus for the break. Like I just don't understand why we're just catering to this guy. Like it makes no fucking sense to me. And he's like unless something happened and I missed it, but he's still not down, right? So now we're technically carrying 3 goalies again.
I believe so, yes.
So I don't know. So
I don't
maybe he
get it
gets
either.
moved. But yeah, no. But as far as the trade deadline, like I said, I think it could be super busy or really fucking quiet. So
My patience on Kolosov is starting to run thin too. I'm not ready to shut the door yet, but I definitely understand where you're coming from. This is a very weird situation going on with him. But yeah, let's move on to next week's games. Flyers have 3 coming up, a back-to-back, home and home with Pittsburgh, and then the only team in the league they have yet to play this year on the following Saturday, the Winnipeg Jets. So let's do a little prediction on this. Pittsburgh, I think they're going to split this home and home. I'm going to go out of the women and say the away team wins both games. I think they lose on Thursday 5-3. I think they win on I'm sorry, I think they lose Tuesday 5-3. I think they win Thursday 5-2. And then Saturday against Winnipeg, I have them losing 4-1. 1-2 week.
yeah, against Pittsburgh, it probably will be a split against Pittsburgh, but I'm gonna say we win both games just because fuck Pittsburgh.
I hope
And we're probably gonna lose against Winnipeg. Winnipeg just a monster of a team this year. So 2-1. I'm gonna go 2-1 this week.
so. That's fair. That's fair. Little 4-game win streak to get this team suddenly sneaking up. There goes the friggin' tank spot, and then lose to Winnipeg and just bring us back to reality. Flyers currently, by the way, for anyone who is watching the Tank Watch, they do have the 8th overall pick of the season today. I'd like them to drop a little bit more. 4 is my ultimate goal, but if they can get around 5 or 6, I'd be cool with that too. But yeah, that's going to wrap things up this week. Another great episode. Eric, awesome to have you on yet again. Jamey had to leave a little while ago. Another great episode for him as well. Thank you so much, Jamey. And one last shout out. Thank you for the help to get into 4 Nations for those 2 days on last week. It was an absolute blast. But that's going to do it for us. Another great episode this week. Everyone take care. We'll see you next week. And hopefully with maybe some more news, maybe another trade breaks out. Who knows? But with that being said, we'll see you next week. And as always, let's go Flyers.